Christoph, thank you so much for joining us here at Super Return International.
Thank you for having me.
We're living through very interesting times geopolitically, that's one way of putting it. So
Absolutely.
What challenges and opportunities does that bring in terms of the private credit market?
Well, the opportunity is that increasingly private lenders have taken a big share of the direct lending market. The banks are not lending as much as they used to, and that has opened a very big space for asset managers and institutional investors to get involved. So that's a big opportunity. It also happening at a time where the sort of products we have to offer have been very attractive to institutional investors because they are yield generating, because the risk is well contained, and that has really sort of helped build an industry.
What are those products? What do you need to find in this environment, if you like?
Well, what you're looking at is lending to mid-sized companies across the European landscape. So what is really important is, first of all, finding these opportunities, and that's all about origination, talking to private equity sponsors, talking to companies directly. A big part of these opportunities are going to come from companies who seek capital to finance their expansion. The second really important thing to do is to underwrite credit, find good quality companies, make sure that you're investing in the right companies at the right time in the cycle, and then monitor those investments and ensuring that your capital is well protected.
And obviously the European landscape could change significantly this year. We've already got Brexit, there are more European elections ahead. It's a fairly tumultuous time, isn't it?
Absolutely. I think that's for the first time in a long time, we found our industry impacted very significantly from political events. And it's probably the first time in 2016 that it happened, and it's continuing into 2017. I have to say though, I think for us, what is really interesting is uncertainty is generally quite good. So for players who are committed to a market, uncertain times mean also that the credit discipline is going to be maintained. It also means that returns, margins are going to be protected. Now, we don't want that to go too far. We don't want uncertainty, geopolitical uncertainty, to lead to crisis, whether recession or a systemic crisis such as the one we've seen in 2009. But we like a little bit of uncertainty.
Uncertainty, but also you've got to look for the certains in that. So that's the difficult thing, isn't it? Is there ever a certain?
There's never total certainty in our business. You look into companies, you have to figure out how these geopolitical event might have an influence. If you lend to companies in the UK, you have to try to figure out what impact Brexit could have on these companies. If you're looking into the European landscape, you have to think, how might these elections impact the underlying economies? And there's nothing we can do about that other than make decisions which we think are the right one at any point in time, and then live with the consequences of those decisions.
And you've got to be quite nimble as an industry.
Oh, absolutely. I think that it's just a consequence of the uncertainty. If you want to be able to take advantage of uncertainty, you have to be able to change the origination sources that you have. You have to be able to modify your underwriting criteria. You have to be sometimes capable of investing when other people are not, and be a bit contrarian. So it's always about adjusting to the environment.
And that's where your industry is more flexible than some of the more institutionalised sectors, perhaps?
You would have hoped so, yes.
So what conversations are happening here, and what are you talking to colleagues about? Because Super Return's quite unique in that it does bring people together en masse. It's the biggest conference of its type in the world.
It's a fantastic conference, and actually it's a fantastic conference first of all because of the content that people bring, and not everybody does, but most people would come here and basically say things that they see in the market and talk about how the industry is evolving, the risk they're seeing, the opportunities they see. It's also about what's happening outside of the conferences. You'll see the conference room is not full all the time. There are lots of other meetings taking place. You meet LPs, you network with other colleagues in the industry. What do we talk about? Well, the first thing in the credit space we talk about is the balance between supply and demand, which is a big theme. We have seen over the past 6-7 years this industry growing very significantly. So of course, we have seen more demand for our sort of capital from companies, but supply has increased as well. Increasingly, we have seen institutional investors coming to our market, and the big question is, might it become unsustainable? Might we get to the point where there's going to be too much supply capital, to the point where the risk return is going to deteriorate massively? That's the first thing we're talking about. The second thing we talk about is indeed these the macro events that we are going through. Brexit, the US election, German, Dutch and French elections coming this year in 2017, and LPs are rightfully concerned as to how that might impact our industry and the asset classes that we're involved with.
Did you ever have another opportunity to see as many people under one roof as this as well? Because you can do one trip
really.
here, can't you?
In terms of efficiency, this has got to be the best venue that we've been to. There are other conferences in other parts of the world, but when it gets to Europe, this is the biggest concentration of LPs and GPs and this is the best opportunity you have to meet colleagues and clients and in the same place.
It's in its 20th year this year. Can you sum up how this industry's evolved over those 2 decades?
I think it was initially more of a cottage conference. It has become a real industry. I mean, this is taking not only this hotel, the nearby hotels as well. The attendance has grown. To me, that's the best networking opportunity you can get in Europe at the moment.
So what do you hope to take away from the conference? Because you come to impart your knowledge and be on panels and speak, but you also hope to take something away, I imagine.
I've got to be honest with you. I come and sort of talk to panels, and to the extent I can share some of my experience and some of the things we see in the market, the most important thing for us is meet as many of our clients and potential clients as we can over this particular week. This is what I'm here for.
Very good, and thank you so much for taking time out to join us as well.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks, Christophe.